Listen closely, my friends. The most dangerous person is not the one who knows how to hurt you. It is the one who knows exactly what deserves his attention and what does not. Think about that for a moment. How many people have controlled your mood without ever touching you? One message, one look, one comment, one person suddenly becoming distant. They did almost nothing physically, yet somehow they entered your mind, changed your emotional state, and stayed there for hours. That is the hidden cost of attention. The moment you give something your attention, you give it a piece of your life. And here's what makes this even more disturbing. Some people don't actually want to defeat you. They want access to you. They want your explanation, your anger, your defense, your jealousy, your desperate attempt to prove yourself. Because as long as they can make you react, they can still reach inside your emotional world whenever they want. But the moment you stop feeding the reaction, something changes. The conversation loses its fuel. The provocation loses its reward. And the person who was trying to pull you into their world suddenly discovers that the door is no longer opening. The Stoics understood that your mind is not a public square where every stranger gets to walk in and leave their opinion behind. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess, because whatever repeatedly receives your attention eventually receives your emotional energy. And whatever receives your emotional energy begins shaping your life. This is why ignoring is not always weakness. Sometimes ignoring is the highest form of psychological discipline. The decision to look directly at something and say, "You may exist, but you do not deserve a place inside me." But there is a dangerous misunderstanding here. The power of ignoring is not about pretending you don't care. It is not about giving someone the silent treatment, avoiding every uncomfortable truth, or becoming emotionally numb. It is about knowing the difference between what deserves your response and what is simply trying to steal your peace. And in this video, we're going to uncover 12 powerful Stoic principles that will show you how to master that difference. How to ignore provocation, rejection, unnecessary opinions, manipulation, disrespect, and even the desperate need to be understood. Because the deeper you go, the more uncomfortable the truth becomes. Sometimes the person you need to ignore isn't the person trying to get your attention. It's the part of you that keeps begging for theirs. And once you understand that, ignoring stops being something you do to other people. It becomes something you do to protect the person you're becoming. Principle 1. Your attention is your most expensive currency. Every time you give something your attention, you are making an exchange. You are taking a piece of your limited life and handing it to whatever you are looking at, thinking about, worrying about, or obsessing over. Most people protect their money more carefully than they protect their attention, even though money can be earned again while yesterday's attention can never be recovered. If someone can repeatedly occupy your mind without earning that privilege, they are taking something from you that you can never get back. Imagine carrying a small lantern through a dark city. You only have enough fuel to keep it burning for so long, so every time you stop and point it towards something, that thing becomes illuminated. Now imagine spending that fuel on every stranger shouting from every street corner. One person insults you, so you shine the light on them. Another criticizes you, so you turn toward them. Someone ignores you, so you spend another hour staring into the darkness, trying to understand why. Eventually, the problem isn't that the city is too noisy. The problem is that you've forgotten your lantern was supposed to help you find your own way. This is why the Stoic practice of directing attention inward was so powerful. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to return to the work immediately in front of him, to examine his own judgments, and to stop allowing external disturbances to dictate the quality of his inner life. He understood something that modern life makes incredibly difficult. You cannot control everything that enters your awareness, but you can become selective about what receives your continued attention. Seeing something is automatic. Feeding it is a choice. So the next time someone says something designed to pull you toward them, don't immediately ask whether they're right or wrong. First, ask something more valuable. Is this worth my attention? Because not every false accusation deserves correction, not every opinion deserves consideration, and not every person deserves access to your emotional energy. Sometimes the strongest response isn't proving that you are unaffected. It is quietly deciding that this particular thing will not receive another minute of your life. And once you understand the value of your attention, the next principle becomes even more dangerous, because you'll realize that some people don't want your attention at all. They want your reaction. Principle 2. Starve the provocation and it dies. Some people are not looking for a conversation. They are looking for a reaction. They say the thing they know will irritate you, delay the reply because they know you'll overthink it, make a small insult, and then watch to see whether you defend yourself. Their real reward is not the words they said. It is the emotional movement they can create inside you. The moment you understand that, you stop asking, "How do I win this interaction?" and start asking, "Why am I feeding it at all?" Think of provocation like a fire built from attention. A spark by itself cannot burn through an entire house. It needs something to consume. Your anger becomes the fuel. Your explanations become the oxygen. Your repeated replies become the hands constantly feeding the flames. You think you're fighting the fire, but every emotional response is giving it another reason to stay alive. Sometimes the fastest way to defeat a provocation is not to extinguish it. It is to stop supplying it with anything that allows it to grow. This is where ignoring becomes fundamentally different from weakness. Weakness avoids a confrontation because it is afraid of what might happen. Disciplined ignoring sees the confrontation clearly and decides that participating would cost more than it is worth. You can recognize disrespect without becoming disrespectful. You can notice manipulation without exposing every thought in your head. You can hear an insult without turning it into a personal mission. Your silence is no longer an absence of courage. It becomes evidence that someone else's behavior does not automatically determine yours. And there is a deeper psychological shift that happens when you stop reacting. The person who was trying to provoke you is forced to face something they didn't expect. Their control was never inside their words. It was inside your participation. Remove the participation, and suddenly the entire dynamic changes. They may try harder, they may become louder, they may accuse you of not caring, but that can be the final test, because if you break your silence simply to prove that you don't care, you've still allowed them to choose your behavior. So the next time someone throws a verbal hook toward you, don't rush to bite it just because you can see it. Watch it fall. Let the moment become uncomfortable without rescuing it with your reaction. You don't have to destroy every invitation to conflict. Sometimes you become powerful simply by refusing to attend. And once you learn to starve other people's provocations, you'll be ready for something much harder. Learning to ignore the opinions that quietly control you, even when nobody is standing in front of you. Principle 3. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. There is a point where explaining yourself stops being communication and becomes self-abandonment. You explain why you said it, why you did it, what you actually meant, what they misunderstood, what happened before, what happened after, and still they find another accusation. At that moment, you're no longer trying to be understood. You're trying to obtain permission to feel innocent in someone else's eyes. And that is a dangerous place to live, because the moment your peace depends on another person's understanding, You have handed them authority over your emotional state. Imagine standing in front of a locked door, explaining yourself to someone who has already decided not to open it. You bring evidence. You bring memories. You bring sincerity. You explain every detail with increasing desperation, believing that if you just find the perfect sentence, they'll finally understand. But the door doesn't move because the problem was never your explanation. The person on the other side simply didn't want to understand. And no amount of clarity can force someone to receive what they have already chosen to reject. This is where Stoic discipline becomes extremely uncomfortable. You can control the honesty of your words, but you cannot control the interpretation someone gives them. You can act with integrity, but you cannot force another person to recognize it. You can correct a misunderstanding once, perhaps twice, when something meaningful is at stake. But after that, continuing to defend yourself can become another form of attachment. You are no longer protecting your character. You're trying to manage their perception of your character. Those are two completely different responsibilities. Think about how much energy people waste trying to prove they are not the person someone else has decided they are. A friend misunderstands you, so you write paragraphs. A stranger criticizes you, so you defend your entire life. Someone leaves angry, so you chase them for closure. And beneath all of it is the same hidden hunger. Please see me correctly. But what happens when they never do? Do you spend the rest of your life presenting evidence, or do you finally accept that your character can survive someone's misunderstanding of it? There is immense freedom in realizing that you don't need to win every person's interpretation of you. Let them misunderstand what they are determined to misunderstand. Let them tell a version of the story that makes sense to them. Your responsibility is not to control the narrative inside someone else's head. Your responsibility is to make sure your own behavior is worthy of the person you claim to be. And when you can walk away from a misunderstanding without desperately chasing correction, you discover a form of peace most people never experience. Because sometimes the strongest sentence you can say is nothing at all, not because you have been defeated, but because you finally understand that your character does not become less true simply because someone refuses to see it. And once you stop begging to be understood, you become ready for an even deeper form of ignoring, learning to live without needing everyone to approve of you. Principle 4. Stop chasing approval from people who withhold it. One of the hardest things to ignore is not an insult, but the feeling that someone doesn't value you. Rejection can make you do strange things. You become more available, you explain more, you give more, you check whether they've noticed. You start measuring your worth by the warmth in their voice, the speed of their reply, the invitation you received or didn't receive. And without realizing it, you stop living according to your own values and start performing for an audience that may never applaud. Approval is powerful because it creates a hidden contract. If you like me, I will feel valuable. If you reject me, I will question myself. But that contract places your self-worth outside your control. The Stoics would challenge the entire arrangement. Your character is something you can work on. Another person's opinion is something you can only observe. If your peace rises and falls according to someone else's approval, then you have turned their opinion into a remote control for your mind. Imagine building a house and then handing the keys to every person who walks past it. One person says the walls are beautiful, so you feel proud. Another says the house is ugly, so you start tearing it apart. Someone else dislikes the windows, so you replace them. Eventually, you are no longer building a home. You are building a structure designed by strangers. That is what happens when you constantly adjust yourself to other people's approval. You may become acceptable to everyone and completely unfamiliar to yourself. And this doesn't mean becoming arrogant or refusing all criticism. That's another form of weakness disguised as confidence. The disciplined person can listen without surrendering. If someone gives useful criticism, take the lesson. If someone points out a genuine flaw, correct it. But when the criticism is merely an attempt to reduce you, you don't have to crawl toward the person holding it and beg them to change their mind. You can examine the message without becoming dependent on the messenger. The real turning point comes when you can hear, "I don't like you," without translating it into, "There must be something wrong with me." When someone chooses another person, you can accept the choice without turning it into a verdict on your worth. When someone walks away, you can let them walk without chasing them down the road, demanding an explanation that will make you feel whole again. You stop asking, "How do I make them choose me?" and start asking, "Why would I abandon myself trying to be chosen?" Because the deepest form of ignoring isn't ignoring another person's opinion. It is ignoring the desperate voice inside you that says you must be approved of to be worthy. And when that voice finally becomes quieter, something remarkable happens. Rejection still hurts, but it no longer commands you. You can be disliked without becoming smaller, misunderstood without becoming desperate, and left without believing that you have been abandoned by yourself. And that prepares us for the next principle, because even after you stop chasing approval, there is still one thing capable of stealing your peace without saying a single word: comparison. Principle 5. Ignore the comparison that steals your peace. Comparison rarely announces itself as jealousy. It arrives disguised as curiosity. Why are they ahead? Why did they get chosen? Why do they have what I don't? Why does their life look easier? You open a screen for a few seconds, see someone else's success, relationship, body, money, confidence or lifestyle, and suddenly your own life feels smaller. Nothing in your reality changed in that moment. Only the person you were measuring yourself against entered your mind, and somehow that was enough to make you feel behind. The deeper problem is that comparison creates a race you never consciously agreed to enter. You begin measuring your private life against someone else's public evidence. You compare your worst morning to their best photograph, your unfinished chapter to their polished result, your doubts to their confidence, your ordinary Tuesday to the highlight reel of their entire existence. Then you call the emotional pain motivation. But motivation says, "I want to become better." Comparison says, "I need to become better than them so I can finally feel worthy." One builds you, the other slowly consumes you. The Stoics understood that another person's possessions, reputation, status, or success do not automatically improve or diminish your character. Epictetus repeatedly brought attention back to what actually belongs to you, your judgments, choices, and conduct. That principle becomes brutally relevant in a world where you can measure yourself against thousands of people before breakfast. The moment someone else's life becomes the measuring stick for your own, you have allowed a stranger to define the scoreboard. And you cannot win a game when someone else decides what counts as winning. There is also a darker side to comparison. Sometimes you don't actually want what the other person has. You want what you imagine having it would make you feel. You think you want their money, but maybe you want security. You think you want their popularity, but maybe you want recognition. You think you want their relationship, but maybe you want to feel chosen. And if you never separate the object from the emotion underneath it, you'll spend years chasing things that were never the real desire. You'll keep looking outward for a feeling that can only be built inward. So practice a different kind of ignoring. When someone else's success triggers that quiet feeling of inadequacy, don't attack them and don't attack yourself. Ignore the scoreboard. Ask instead, am I becoming stronger than I was? Am I keeping my promises to myself? Am I living according to principles I actually respect? Because your life was never supposed to be a competition against another person's timeline. The moment you stop using someone else's life to measure your own, you get something comparison could never give you: the ability to see your own progress clearly. And yet, comparison is only one kind of noise. There is another kind that is far more dangerous because it comes disguised as responsibility: the belief that you must fix, rescue, manage, or carry everyone around you. And the next principle is where you learn to ignore something most good-hearted people struggle to ignore: problems that belong to other people. Principle 6. Stop carrying problems that belong to other people. There is a difference between caring about someone and carrying them. You can love a person deeply, listen to their pain, support them through difficulty, and still recognize that their choices are not your responsibility. Yet many people destroy their own peace trying to solve lives they were never given control over. They take responsibility for another person's decisions, another person's emotions, another person's healing, and then wonder why they feel exhausted even when nothing is technically wrong in their own life. Imagine standing at the edge of a river while someone else chooses to keep swimming against the current. You can throw them a rope, you can tell them where the shore is, you can reach out your hand, but if they repeatedly let go and jump back into the current, there comes a point where jumping into the river with them isn't compassion anymore. It is drowning together. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop confusing support with rescue. You cannot live someone else's life for them, no matter how badly you want their outcome to change. This is where Stoic discipline becomes difficult, because the people we most want to save are often the people we love. You see someone making the same destructive choice again and again, and every part of you wants to intervene. You explain, you warn, you sacrifice, you lose sleep thinking about what they should do. But Epictetus' distinction between what is within our control and what is not becomes painfully relevant here. You can offer advice, but you cannot manufacture another person's judgment. You can open a door, but you cannot force them to walk through it. Their choices remain theirs. And sometimes carrying another person's problems is not even about them. Sometimes it gives us a strange sense of importance. If someone needs us, we feel valuable. If we can fix them, we feel powerful. If we are constantly rescuing someone, we never have to sit alone with the parts of our own life that need attention. That is the uncomfortable question. Are you helping them because they truly need help, or because being needed protects you from facing yourself? The answer may reveal why letting go feels almost like guilt. So learn to ignore the responsibility you were never given. Not the person, the illusion that you must control their outcome. Give advice when it is useful. Offer help when it is appropriate. Be present when someone genuinely needs you. But when the choice returns to their hands, return the responsibility with it. You are allowed to love someone without becoming responsible for every consequence of their life. Because when you finally stop carrying everyone else's unfinished battles, you discover how much strength was being consumed by problems you could never solve. And that creates room for the next principle. Because once you stop carrying other people's lives, you have to confront something even harder: the endless noise inside your own mind that keeps dragging yesterday into today. Principle 7. Ignore the need to have the past make sense. Some wounds stay alive because you keep asking the past to give you an explanation it may never give. Why did they betray you? Why did they leave? Why did they change? Why did you give so much and receive so little? You replay the same scene from different angles, hoping that one more analysis will finally produce an answer that makes the pain feel justified. But sometimes the past doesn't become peaceful because you finally understand it. It becomes peaceful because you finally stop demanding that it explain itself to you. Imagine carrying a broken clock because you are waiting for it to tell you what time it would have been if it had never stopped. You keep checking it, turning it over, examining the hands, remembering the exact moment it broke. But the clock isn't going to move backward. And every hour you spend trying to repair yesterday is an hour you are refusing to live today. This is what rumination does. It disguises itself as problem solving while quietly keeping you emotionally attached to something that no longer exists. The Stoic approach is not to deny what happened. It is to separate the event from your continued participation in it. You cannot rewrite the betrayal, but you can decide whether betrayal becomes the lens through which you see every future relationship. You cannot make someone apologize sincerely, but you can decide whether their apology is required before you allow yourself to heal. You cannot return to the moment before the mistake, but you can decide what the mistake will produce in the person you become. The past can explain you without being allowed to command you. And there is something even deeper here. Sometimes we keep revisiting the past because anger gives us a sense of connection to what we lost. As long as you're angry, you still feel involved. As long as you're seeking an explanation, the relationship, betrayal, rejection, or injustice still occupies a living space inside you. Letting go can feel frightening because it seems like you're finally admitting that the chapter is over. But closure is not always something another person gives you. Sometimes closure is the moment you stop asking a closed door to explain why it wouldn't open. So when the old memory returns, don't fight it and don't feed it. Notice it. Learn what it taught you. Then bring your attention back to the life that is actually happening. You are allowed to remember without returning. You are allowed to understand without reopening. You are allowed to forgive without inviting the wound back into your life. Because the strongest form of ignoring the past is not pretending it never happened. It is refusing to let something that ended years ago continue making decisions for the person you are today. And once you learn to stop giving yesterday unlimited access to today, you face the next battle, the need to make everyone understand your side of the story. Principle 8. Stop needing everyone to understand your story. One of the most exhausting things you can do is spend your life trying to correct the version of you that exists inside someone else's head. You explain what really happened. You explain what you meant. You explain what they misunderstood. You explain why you reacted the way you did. And when they still don't understand, you explain it again with more emotion, more detail, more evidence. At some point, you're no longer communicating. You are begging another person to give you permission to believe your own reality. Imagine carrying a manuscript of your entire life everywhere you go, desperately handing pages to people who criticize you. Read this chapter. You need to know what happened before you judge me. Look at this page. This proves I wasn't the person you think I am. But some people will never read it. Some will read only the page that confirms what they already believe, and some will deliberately tear out the pages that don't fit their story. If you spend your life trying to edit every person's version of you, you will eventually lose the original. The Stoic understands a difficult truth. Being understood is desirable, but it is not a requirement for living with integrity. You can explain yourself when explanation genuinely serves a purpose. You can correct a serious misunderstanding when something important is at stake. But there comes a point where continuing to explain becomes another form of dependence. You are no longer protecting truth. You are trying to control perception. And perception is one of the territories that does not belong to you. You can control what you say. You cannot control what another mind decides to do with it. Think about how much peace disappears when you need everyone to know that you were the good person in the story. You want them to understand your intentions. You want mutual friends to hear your side. You want the person who hurt you to eventually realize they were wrong. You imagine the day they finally come back and say, "I understand now." But what if that day never comes? Will your healing remain on hold until someone else reaches the correct conclusion about you? If so, they still have power over you, even if you haven't spoken to them in years. There is a profound freedom in allowing some people to misunderstand you, not because you don't care about truth, but because you care more about living truthfully than being perceived as truthful. Let your actions accumulate evidence over time. Let your character become something you don't need to advertise. Let people tell the version of the story they need to tell. You don't have to chase every rumor, correct every assumption, or defend yourself against every judgment. A life lived with integrity does not require a press conference, and eventually something changes. You stop rehearsing explanations in your head. You stop imagining conversations where you finally make them understand. You stop needing the perfect final sentence. You realize that some people will never understand you, and that can be completely okay. Because the moment you stop needing everyone to understand your story, you become free to actually live the next chapter. But there is still one person whose understanding you cannot afford to lose: yourself. And the next principle goes deeper, because sometimes the thing you most desperately need to ignore is the internal voice that keeps telling you that you are behind, not enough, or running out of time. Principle 9. Ignore the voice that tells you you're not enough. There is a voice inside you that doesn't need anyone else to insult you because it has learned how to do the job by itself. It remembers every mistake, compares your progress to everyone else's, replays the opportunities you missed, and quietly turns another person's success into evidence that you are falling behind. You may have stopped listening to the people who criticized you years ago, but if their voice became your inner voice, you never actually escaped them. You simply brought them inside. This is why self-comparison can be more destructive than criticism from another person. When someone else doubts you, you can walk away. But when the doubt becomes internal, there is nowhere to walk. You carry it into your work, your relationships, your ambitions, and even your moments of success. You achieve something and immediately move the finish line. You receive recognition and wonder whether you deserved it. You make progress and somehow notice only how far you still have to go. The mind becomes a judge that never announces a verdict because it wants to keep the trial running forever. The Stoic response is not to replace that voice with empty affirmations. It is to examine it. Ask, is this thought useful? Is it true? Is it within my control? What action does it demand from me? If you made a mistake, correct it. If you lack a skill, train it. If you failed, learn from it. But if the voice is simply demanding that you become perfect before you're allowed to respect yourself, ignore it. Discipline should make you better. It should not make you permanently ashamed of being unfinished. Think about a tree growing in a forest. It does not stop growing because another tree is taller. It does not look at the tree beside it and decide that its own roots are worthless. It simply continues doing what a living thing is designed to do: grow according to its own nature and its own season. Your life works the same way. Someone else's chapter cannot tell you what your chapter should look like. Someone else's speed cannot become the measure of your worth. And yesterday's version of you cannot be allowed to constantly insult today's version of you for not being tomorrow's version yet. So when that internal voice appears and says, "You're behind, you're not enough, everyone is doing better, you should have figured this out by now," don't fight it for an hour. Don't negotiate with every thought your mind produces. Observe it, question it, and return to the next action that actually belongs to you. Your mind can produce a thought without that thought becoming a command. And this is where ignoring reaches its deepest meaning. You are not only learning to ignore people, you are learning to ignore every thought that demands your obedience simply because it is loud. Because once you stop treating every thought as truth, you discover something incredibly freeing. Your mind can speak without being your master. And that brings us to the final principle, where all 12 lessons come together, and you discover the one thing you should never ignore. Principle 10. Ignore the need to be right. There is a version of you that doesn't want peace as much as it wants a verdict. It wants the other person to admit they were wrong, apologize in exactly the right words, understand exactly how badly they hurt you, and finally acknowledge that you were right all along. And until that moment arrives, some part of you keeps the argument alive. You may stop speaking to them, but you continue debating them inside your head. The conversation ended months ago, yet you are still preparing your closing statement. That is the hidden trap of needing to be right. It disguises itself as justice, but often it is simply attachment wearing a respectable name. You tell yourself, they need to understand what they did, but sometimes what you really mean is, I need them to validate my pain before I'm willing to release it. And that gives them a power they may not even know they possess. If another person's admission is required before you can feel at peace, your peace is still waiting in their hands. Imagine two people standing on opposite sides of a bridge, each shouting that the other should cross first. Neither wants to move because moving feels like surrender. Hours pass, then days. Eventually they aren't even fighting about where the argument began. They are fighting to avoid being the person who appears to have lost. How many relationships have died on bridges like that? Not because the original disagreement was impossible to solve, but because both people valued being right more than they valued being free. The Stoic question is not, how do I prove my position? It is, what does this situation require from my character? Sometimes that means speaking. Sometimes it means setting a boundary. Sometimes it means admitting you were wrong. And sometimes it means walking away from an argument where victory would only purchase another hour of bitterness. Strength is not always defending your position. Sometimes strength is being secure enough in yourself that you don't need another person to lose for you to feel whole. This is especially powerful when someone deliberately misunderstands you. You can spend enormous energy constructing the perfect argument, searching for evidence, remembering details, and imagining the moment they finally surrender and say, "You're right." But what happens if they never do? You have two choices. Spend your life waiting for a verdict, or give yourself permission to leave the courtroom. The second choice feels impossible until you realize that peace does not require a confession from the person who disturbed it. So learn to ignore the need to win every invisible battle. Be willing to be misunderstood. Be willing to leave some arguments unfinished. Be willing to let someone believe they won if winning means they get to keep you emotionally trapped. You don't have to win the conversation if you can win your freedom from it. And once you understand that, you're ready for the final principle, because after learning what to ignore, you must finally learn what is too important to ever ignore. Principle 11. Ignore the noise, but never ignore your values. The most dangerous mistake people make with ignoring is believing that peace means becoming indifferent to everything. It doesn't. There are things you should ignore because they are noise, and there are things you must never ignore because they are warnings about who you are becoming. If someone insults your ego, let it pass. If someone challenges your comfort, examine it. If someone attacks your character unfairly, you don't need to collapse. But if your own conscience tells you that you've crossed a line, silence is no longer strength. It is avoidance. Think of your values as a compass in a storm. The wind can scream from every direction, people can shout different instructions, and the waves can make the horizon disappear, but the compass remains quiet. It doesn't argue with the storm. It simply tells you where you are facing. Your principles work the same way. You don't need to react to every voice around you, because you already know what kind of person you refuse to become, and that certainty makes ignoring possible without becoming careless. This is where true Stoicism separates itself from emotional numbness. The Stoic doesn't say, "Nothing matters." He asks, "What actually matters?" Your reputation may matter less than your integrity. Winning an argument may matter less than preserving your character. Being admired may matter less than being honest when nobody is watching. The world will constantly invite you to trade your principles for approval, comfort, revenge, or attention. Your power lies in recognizing the offer and refusing it. And sometimes your values will demand that you speak. Sometimes ignoring would be cowardice disguised as calm. If someone is being genuinely harmed, if a boundary must be established, if you have done something wrong, or if silence would make you complicit in something you know is wrong, then you don't hide behind the word Stoicism. Courage is not always silence. Sometimes courage is saying what needs to be said without hatred, ego, or the need to dominate. The goal isn't to become passive, the goal is to become deliberate. So before you ignore something, ask yourself one question. Am I ignoring this because it is beneath my attention, or because I'm afraid to face it? That question can expose the difference between wisdom and avoidance. If it is noise, release it. If it is a lesson, learn it. If it is a boundary, enforce it. If it is a moral responsibility, face it. Ignore the distractions, but never ignore the person you are becoming. Because after all these principles, we arrive at the final truth. The greatest power of ignoring isn't learning how to ignore other people. It is learning how to ignore everything that tries to pull you away from your own path, and recognizing the one thing you can never afford to ignore, your own character. Principle 12. Ignore everything that pulls you away from yourself. There comes a point where ignoring stops being a technique and becomes an identity. You no longer ask, "How do I make them stop?" You ask, "Why am I still allowing this to determine who I become?" Because the deepest form of power isn't controlling what other people say, what they think, who stays, who leaves, or what happens next. It is reaching a place where external noise can touch your circumstances without being allowed to rewrite your character. Think about a ship crossing an ocean. The ship cannot command the waves. It cannot silence the wind. It cannot demand that the storm move somewhere else. Its survival depends on something much simpler, knowing its direction. A ship without direction can be pushed thousands of miles by the same water that a disciplined captain learns to navigate. Your life works the same way. You don't need a quieter world. You need a clearer destination. When your values are stronger than the noise around you, you stop being dragged by every emotional current. This is why the ultimate power of ignoring is not about becoming unavailable, cold, or detached from humanity. It is about becoming selective. Ignore the insult that only wants your anger. Ignore the opinion that only wants your insecurity. Ignore the rejection that tries to convince you that you're worthless. Ignore the comparison that tells you someone else's timeline is your failure. Ignore the urge to explain yourself to people who have already chosen their judgment. But don't ignore your mistakes. Don't ignore your conscience. Don't ignore the people you genuinely love, and never ignore the person you are becoming, because every day you are voting for a version of yourself. Every reaction is a vote. Every boundary is a vote. Every time you walk away instead of chasing validation, you are voting for self-respect. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you are voting for strength. Every time you refuse to give your attention to something meaningless, you are taking another piece of your life back. And eventually, these small decisions stop feeling like decisions. They become your character. Maybe that's the real secret nobody tells you about ignoring. You don't ignore people to make them feel powerless. You ignore what is trying to control you so that you can remain powerful over yourself. You stop chasing the last word because your peace is worth more than being right. You stop demanding closure because your future is more important than your past. You stop begging to be understood because your integrity doesn't require an audience. And you stop reacting to every disturbance because you finally understand the value of the life you're spending. So when the world tries to pull you into another argument, another comparison, another explanation, another emotional trap, pause and ask yourself, does this deserve a piece of my life? If the answer is no, let it pass without guilt. You don't owe every voice a response. You don't owe every person access. You don't owe every conflict your energy. Your attention is your life, and learning what not to give it to may be one of the most powerful forms of self-mastery you will ever develop. At the end of these 12 principles, remember this: the power of ignoring was never about ignoring people. It was about refusing to give everything access to your mind. You don't have to answer every insult, chase every person, correct every misunderstanding, or carry every problem. Your attention is your life, and every time you choose what deserves it, you take another piece of your life back. So ignore the noise, release what you cannot control, protect your values, and stop giving your peace away for reactions that will mean nothing tomorrow. You don't become powerful when you control everyone around you. You become powerful when nothing outside you can easily control who you are.